Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is November 23rd, and we're on page 69 in your magazines. And today we have another composition based on pictures exercise. Now, I have to say, I often have problems deciphering pictures in exercises like this. Sometimes I just don't get what they're driving at. To be driving at something, that means something you're trying to express. Like, what are you driving at? It means, what do you really mean? I often have trouble deciphering what those pictures really mean, but this time it was pretty clear.
好，所以这次这个图还看得还蛮清楚的哈，就它到底发生什么事了。
Okay, our title today is When a Misunderstanding Ruins Plans. Now, I had a little discussion with Wesley before the show about why we used a plural for plans. We could, in theory, say, when a misunderstanding ruins your plan. Why do we use a plural here?
好，那这个地方呢plans 它用的是复数哈，那但是我们如果看这个内容，好像感觉起来它其实只有一个计划，就是他们要去后面吃饭。但是呢这个事实上英文 plan 这个概念呢，不会是只有一个整个的计划，因为一个整个计划里面其实有很多不同的步骤，那都是 plan 的一部分，所以你可以这样去想，所以 plans 在英文里面通常是用复数来写的，那除非你今天真的是讲的是某一个计划啊，一个很写得清清楚楚的，或者是一个很明确的一个计划，例如说可能军事行动啊，你有一个 plan， 那这个时候你可以用单数，但像这种地方呢，其实用 plans 才对，你说 ruins a plan 感觉是怪怪的。
That's right, because usually it is very, very targeted. For example, here's the plan. It sounds sort of criminal, or it could be used in business. This is how we are going to carry out our campaign. The plan, step by step, it means that there's not much flexibility in it.
好，所以呢，这个当你说 here's the plan， 那是一个单数，那这个感觉起来它是一个很具体的一步一步，好，没什么可以变化的这样的一个计划。
And it makes me think of a criminal.
而且会让人家想到是个可能这个犯人的罪犯啊，你要想做坏事。
No, not every time. Like I said, it can be used in business or in many other contexts. But it sounds like it's something written down, carefully planned out, not much flexibility. And it is also part, in the plural, of an idiom. So, for example, how'd you like to get together this weekend? Oh, sorry, we have plans.
这别人问说我们这个周末聚一下吧。你说啊，抱歉了，我有事哈。中文大概就讲我有事，那个我有事在英文里面是 we have plans 或者 I have plans， 那个都是复数的 ，yeah.
That's right, but there is a difference in meaning in this case because in Chinese 我有事 it could be absolutely anything at all. It could be that I just want to get away from you. I don't feel like talking to you now. 我有事 it means I just need to get away. It could mean that I have to mail a letter.It can mean a kind of task. It could be something for pleasure. I'm going to meet a friend. So 是 is really general. But plans means usually something for entertainment or leisure. We have plans like we're going on a trip, for example.
所以呢还是有点差异哈。英文讲说 we have plans 感觉起来好像是你可能有计划，你可能已经要出去吃饭啊，要去看个戏啊，看个电影啊等等的。
有规划一个什么事情。
Yeah， 通常是指有规划的事情。好，那中文那个我有事呢，感觉起来是什么都可以哈。事实上可能没事也可以说我有事，就是我不想做的意思。
That's right. And my experiences in Chinese, it can be a little rude. Okay, so do you want to come along and join us? 我有事。
Yeah， 那语气当然有点差别哈。那感觉起来就有一点我不想去那种感觉，我有事啊，所以还是跟英文还是有点差别的。
Right, depending on how you say it. So for plans, that isn't usually the case. We don't usually use it sarcastically. At least I can't think of a situation now. Oh, I'm sorry, we have plans. It may be a lie, maybe an excuse, but it's usually done in a very positive tone of voice because it sounds like you're going to the lake for the weekend.
Yeah, 好，所以要注意这个地方这个 plans 我们用的是复数啊。那还要注意一个这个 ruins 这个字啊，它是毁坏、毁灭的意思啊，所以我们的标题就是因为误会打坏了或者是破坏了我们的计划。那中文的标题是吃饭搞乌龙。
Oh, that's a really nice translation. I like that a lot.
好，搞了乌龙。
Yeah, it's better than 破坏了我们的计划。
Yeah,
Okay, what do we have to do?
好，提示部分他讲到 请仔细观察以下4幅连环图片的内容，然后写出一篇涵盖每张图片内容而且结局完整的故事，文长至少120个单词。
And watch out for these things.
那写作时要注意看图作文重点在描述图片的内容，也就是图中人物，包括他的脸部感情、他的情绪、他的穿着、人物互动等等，还有时间、地点、事件等等资讯，你要把它串联起来描述或者是叙述。一般会用以下2种方式来呈现。第一个就是你根据图中主角的姓名，用第3人称的观点就是用旁观者的观点来描述所以叫描述文，你描述或者解读这个图片的内容。另外一种是叙述文，就是你自己融入这个图里面的一个角色，用第1人称，从自己的角度，从当事者的角度来叙述这个故事的情节。那不管你是要用描述文或者是叙述文，都要记得运用想象力还有逻辑，你要先思考出来一个合理的剧情，也就是重点分明，有开头结尾，有发展然后呢，你要你一定要求这个故事情节呢前后要能够这个连贯。那你同时可以用一些转折语来串联每张图之间的关系或者发展，这样子才能写出流利的看图说故事千万不要天马行空的跳跃式的描述或者叙述。而且呢，随着故事发展，你可以适度的对于图中人物的情绪它的变化多加着墨，这样子文章内容会更丰富，更有可读性。
Now, we all love stories, so when you're writing it, try to make it fun and interesting to read or to listen to if you read it out loud. Something that would hold the attention of a friend if you were just chatting with a friend. Don't try to make it really stiff and just trying to follow. Of course, you should follow grammatical rules, but don't just try to make it sound like a lot of boring compositions you've read before. Try to make it sound like something you would enjoy telling a friend.
所以其实看图说故事这种写作，你可以想象你是在讲一个故事给你的朋友听所以尽量讲得生动一点。
Okay, and here is our outline for one version of this assignment.
所以构思方向，我们看到这4张图片，检视它之后呢，我们可以用描述文来解读图片内容，构思出以下的这样的一个剧情。我们可以说 Amy 很久没有看到她的朋友 Rachel 了，所以打电话给她聊聊近况，而且约好隔天下午1点要在常春藤餐厅碰面吃午餐。那 Rachel 那一天呢，这个1点钟准时抵达常春藤餐厅门口，而且打电话跟 Amy 说她已经到了。但是当 Amy 气喘吁吁又满头大汗的抵达餐厅的时候，却到处都没看到 Rachel。那 Amy 就打电话给 Rachel 问一问这个时候他们2个人才同时意识到他们去了同一家连锁餐厅的不同分店。
Okay, has that ever happened to you?
Not really.
I think something similar may have happened to me.
Yeah, something similar, yeah.
Yeah, where you agree to meet someplace, but you each had a different idea of where you were meeting in mind. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want you to watch out for pronunciation of these 2 names. Both of them contain an A, and in Taiwan, people often pronounce them as incorrectly. Instead of saying Amy, I hear people saying Emmy, or even Amy, but usually it's Emmy, and Emmy is a completely different name.Emmy is spelled E-M-M-Y. E-M-M-Y is Emmy. A-M-Y is A-me. Make the A really long and clear. It sounds exaggerated because you're not used to it. Pay attention to native speakers. That's how we really say it. A-me, Amy, Amy. Emmy is a different name. Rachel also contains an A. Rachel, not Rachel. It's Rachel.All right, we're now going to give you our English version of a similar outline of what we're going to write. So we're going to start off with 故事的设定 and our 主题. Our topic and our title is When a Misunderstanding Ruins Plans. Our time and place are at 1 p.m. at the Ivy Restaurant. And our characters, there are only 2, are Amy and Rachel. Amy and Rachel.
好，所以主题我们就是我们的标题，那实地是这个1点钟下午1点在Ivy Restaurant。那人物是 Amy 跟 Rachel。
And our introductory sentence is Amy hadn't seen her friend Rachel in a long time. So one day she called her up to invite her to lunch. And before the program, Wesley asked me something about long time.
Yeah, 好，那我那时候呢，我就请教 Karen 老师，我们也可以说haven't或者 hadn't seen someone for a long time. 那这里我们看到的是好，这个 hadn't seen her friend Rachel in a long time 啊，那到底 in a long time 跟 for a long time 啊，两个都对，那有没有什么差别呢？这个我觉得是学英文很重要一点，就是当你刚刚开始学英文的时候，例如说我在国中的时候，我常常记得老师跟我们讲说这个就等于这个啊，那个时候我就这个就等于这个，但是后来我才慢慢发现其实是不等的。那但是国中老师他可能要跟你讲等，因为他解释太多你也听不懂，你会觉得太复杂。但是各位要有一个很重要的概念，就是英文里面很少有两个东西是完全相等的。
Please change that to not just 英文里面
啊，没错没错，中文也是一样，其实每一个语言都一样。好，同样你说这个东西这样讲也可以，那样讲也可以，但是他们之间一定会有一点不一样的地方。
I'll give you a small example. 我们很久没有见面。我们好久没有见面。
Yeah, 是不一样的，意思一样，可是它其实重点就不太一样了。
Okay, how about the difference between in and for?
那这个地方呢，这个很久跟好久其实跟 for 跟 in 有一点像，
有一点，
对，因为 for a long time 感觉起来是比较强调的啊，那 in a long time 比较口语啊，那而且 in 不会有重音啊，就感觉起来比较像个背景那种感觉，但是 for a long time 就很强调有好长一段时间了，所以有一点像中文讲的好久不见，那个好久。
And it was funny because Wesley and I just continued to chat for a while. And after I finished my story, Wesley said, "You just said for a long time."
Yeah.
And what was the situation?
好，那这个我们聊完这个之后呢 Karen 老师是讲说他最近跟他一个很久没见面的好朋友见面了。那 Karen 老师他直接讲说，我就听到他用的是 for a long time 啊，那我就说所以你刚刚用的是 for a long time。 Karen 老师说对啊，因为我要强调啊，因为我们很好的朋友，那真的很久没见了。
That's exactly what it was. It wasn't just, we haven't seen each other for a long time or in a long, it depends. You know, I guess when we feel a little stronger about it, we may use for. For is natural, in is fine. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, 那这个句子其实还有一些地方可以看到，好，例如说他这用 hadn't seen her friend 用过去完成式，因为这个没有见面是在他 called her up。called 各位注意到是过去式，所以是过去式之前，所以是过去完成式，所以 hadn't seen her before she called her up。 好，那另外要注意的就是 called someone up 就是打电话给谁的意思，好，所以这里就是 she telephoned her 或者 she called her up， 干嘛呢？目的是 to invite her to lunch， 邀请她吃午餐，邀请某人吃午餐，直接就是 invite somebody to lunch， 中文也可以说邀请某人午餐。
All right, next is our development, and that's going to have 4 parts, 1 part for each picture. For the first picture, they chatted for about 45 minutes and agreed to meet each other at the Ivy restaurant at 1 p.m. the next day.
那 chatted 就是闲聊，所以他们两个人闲聊了大概45分钟，所以显然很久没见面了，所以电话就聊了45分钟。然后呢 agreed to do something， 他们同意要干嘛，所以聊还觉得还不够，他们就同意说我们要meet each other， 我们彼此见面在这个 Ivy Restaurant， 然后呢时间是 at 1 p.m. 而且是 the next day 第二天，所以他们决定第二天要碰面，聊不过瘾，我们要碰面聊。
Picture 2. That day, Rachel got to the restaurant on time and then called Amy to inform her that she was there.
那一天就到了第二天呢，这个 Rachel got to the restaurant, arrived at the restaurant， 她到了这个餐厅 on time 就是准时到了，然后他就打电话给 Amy 来 inform her 告知他所以 inform somebody that 就是告知他这件事情，告诉他说他还在那里的。那这个 inform 这种用法呢，其实可以学起来，像这个英文比较正式的信件上面都会讲说一开始是 this is to inform you that 如何如何。那例如说这个像请假你也可以讲说你帮你的小孩请假，你可以说 This is to inform you that our daughter Barbara will be unable to attend school from Wednesday to Friday 或者 through Friday。 那为什么呢？ Due to some family matters that require attention。
But now it's all online anyway, so it's not much of an excuse.
Yeah， 不过像我刚刚讲，就是你要请假，这是很正式的语言This is to inform you that 就是这件事，这个信是告知你什么什么。
Picture 3. When Amy arrived at the restaurant, breathless and sweaty, she couldn't see Rachel anywhere.
这个句子大家可以学一下当她到了这个餐厅，然后呢逗点她的状态是怎么样？是 breathless and sweaty。 breathless 就是上气不接下气，这个气喘吁吁。 sweaty 就是满头大汗。那可是呢 she couldn't see Rachel anywhere， 她到处都看不到 Rachel。
Picture 4, Amy called Rachel. It was then that they both suddenly realized that they had gone to different branches of the same restaurant chain.
所以他打电话给 Rachel， 这个时候两个人 both 都是突然了解到 suddenly realized that 他们去了不同的 branches， 就不同的分店 of the same restaurant chain. Restaurant chain， 这个 chain 就是连锁店。
That's right, and that is a compound. So don't say restaurant chain because that would mean 餐厅的铁链。
所以如果是连锁店，那个 chain 没有重音 restaurant chain.
And our concluding sentence, they both apologized and promised to be more specific about details to avoid such mix-ups in the future.
好，两个人都道歉然后呢 promised to do something， 他们两个人都保证就决心一定要怎样 be more specific about something 也很棒的一个片语 to be more specific about something 就对某件事情要讲得更明确，说得更清楚一点。那在这里对什么要讲得更清楚呢？ details 一些细节。那所以注意这个 detail 它是复数那目的是要干嘛呢？ avoid 避免 such 这样的一种 mix-ups 就是混淆那 in the future 未来避免这样子的混淆，因为他们这就搞混了嘛，到底是去哪一家两个人都弄错了。
Sometimes people get the wrong person entirely. I can remember something from my distant past. I had loaned somebody a book, so I asked a friend to please get my book back from this friend. And the friend's name was Li Zhengzhi. I said, please get the book from Li Zhengzhi. And he was thinking of somebody totally different.
那就是一个 mix up. Yeah.
It was our classmate, but All right, here is our model composition. Amy hadn't seen her friend Rachel in a long time. So one day she called her up to invite her to lunch. Rachel was ecstatic to hear from her old friend, and they spent about 45 minutes making up for lost time. They agreed to meet each other at the Ivy restaurant at 1 p.m. the next day. Rachel, who was always on time for everything, got to the Ivy restaurant at 1 p.m. on the dot that day. She then called Amy to inform her that she was there. Amy said she was on her way and would be at the restaurant in 5 minutes. However, when she arrived at the restaurant, breathless and sweaty, she couldn't see Rachel anywhere. Amy called Rachel and told her that she was waiting at the front door, but that she couldn't see her. Rachel replied that she was also presently standing in front of the Ivy restaurant. All of a sudden, they both simultaneously realized what had happened. They had gone to different branches of the same restaurant chain. They both apologized and promised to be more specific about details to avoid such mix-ups in the future. At least this was not a really serious problem. It wasn't a disaster of any kind. This happens actually fairly often. What I think of is when you agree to meet with somebody somewhere, where are you? I can't see you. And actually they're maybe 10 meters away on their cell phone.
Yeah, 有的时候其实人可能在转角或怎么样，你正好没看到。Yeah.
Back to the beginning, Amy hadn't seen her friend Rachel in a long time. So one day she called her up to invite her to lunch.
这句话我们看过了。
Rachel was ecstatic to hear from her old friend, and they spent about 45 minutes making up for lost time. What a great idiom. Oh, we'll have to schedule a lot of time to chat in order to make up for lost time.
好，我们先谈这个 make up for lost time 这个片语呢有两个意思，一个是赶上进度例如说 hurry, we have to make up for lost time. 另外一个就这里的意思，就是你很热切地做一些过去没办法做的事情所以你可以说这个你跟朋友之间made up for lost time 就是很久没见面了，以前该好好聊的都没有好好聊，所以这一次我们赶快好好聊一聊。
So we're going to spend a lot of extra time because we didn't spend that time earlier. We have to make up for it now, do it now instead of before when we didn't do it.
Yeah, 所以以前没做那现在要多花点时间好好聊一聊。那另外一个这个句子有注意这个字ecstatic 这个字是欣喜若狂的那这个字大家可以学一下，这个是比较难一点的字它的名词是 ecstasy E-C-S-T-A-S-Y.
But be careful for 2 reasons. Number one, it's also the name of a drug.
对，这个也是一种这个毒品的名字
And the second reason is because it is such an extreme word. Be very careful. It's an exaggeration in many situations.
对，那这个字呢，其实各位要注意很强这个字。那它的字根那 EC 就是 EX 就是 out of 的意思。那后面那个 STASY 它有2个源头，一个源头的意思是 stand 站立的意思，所以你可以想你是 standing outside of yourself。所以呢，你那种狂喜是喜到你灵魂出窍那种感觉。
出窍 ，that's good。
Yeah， 那另外一个这个 STSEY 它的字根可以追溯到 place 放置的意思，所以你也可以把它讲成 out of place。所以这个 ecstasy 这个字原来是宗教使用的，就是你那种宗教的那种感觉，就是狂热，或者是你突然间感受到神在直接跟你说话，那种时候你要灵魂出窍的那种狂喜所以这个字其实语气很强，而且这个字大概在1980年代开始慢慢跟毒品连在一起就你吸毒之后那种狂喜也有这种也是用这个字，所以这个字不错的字，但是各位要注意这个字非常的强所以使用的时候还是要小心。
That's right. And it's a kind of extreme. And also, it can be used for exaggeration. Oh, I was ecstatic if it's the kind of person who exaggerates a lot. But if you don't normally exaggerate a lot, be very careful because it implies a loss of control.
这个字有一点暗示你失去控制的那种感觉所以这个字不错，但是要注意一下使用的时候。所以他说他听到 hear from 就接到谁的消息，听到谁的电话接到谁的消息那他听到他朋友的电话，或者是他有朋友的消息，他非常的欣喜若狂，然后他们花了45分钟 making up for lost time.
They agreed to meet each other at the Ivy restaurant at 1 p.m. the next day.
这一句话我们看过了。
Rachel, who is always on time for everything, got to the Ivy restaurant at 1 p.m. on the dot that day. All right, so here they're exaggerating, always on time for everything. Maybe usually. Most people can't do it always.
Yeah, 这有一点夸张他总是 on time for everything， 不管做什么事情他一定准时。那另外呢，他到达这个餐厅是1点整，那个 on the dot 就是 exactly on time 的意思我们常常讲说 arrive 或者 get somewhere on the dot， 或者是 show up on the dot， 就准时出现，准时到达的意思。
She then called Amy to inform her that she was there.
好，这个句子我们看过了。
I'm here. Amy said she was on her way and would be at the restaurant in 5 minutes.
She was on her way 就是她在路上，然后呢5分钟就到。in 5 minutes 不是5分钟之内到，是差不多5分钟到。
However, when she arrived at the restaurant, breathless and sweaty, she couldn't see Rachel anywhere.
这个句子我们看过了。
Amy called Rachel and told her that she was waiting at the front door, but that she couldn't see her.
Waiting at the front door 在前门，在正门等。
Rachel replied that she was also presently standing in front of the Ivy restaurant.
好 Rachel 回答说她现在 presently 在这里就是 now 的意思站在这个 Ivy restaurant。 不过要注意这个 presently 它其实它这个 now 的意思我特别去研究了一下，它在14世纪 presently 就是 at the present time 的意思，但是后来到17世纪的时候，大家开始编字典的时候不知道怎么搞的，就没有把这个意思编进去，所以后来这个用法就消失了那但是呢口语里面还有留着那所以呢造成现在其实有不少人认为 presently 它的意思是 in a short while， 是 soon 的意思，是很快的意思。
Especially in British English.
尤其是英式英语。但事实上呢这个 presently用来表示 now 也是可以的所以大家注意，像在这个地方它其实就表示 at the present time 的意思。
Momentarily is very similar. You can look that up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they both simultaneously realized what had happened.
好 all of a sudden 就是 suddenly 的意思very quickly and unexpectedly， 突然之间他们两个 simultaneously 这个字也可以学一学，蛮好玩的，而且很好记。这个 simul 其实各位有没有觉得跟 same 很像，它就是 same 的意思。那后面那个 taneously 就是 momentary 就是跟时间有关，所以同时各位就至少记得那个同 simultaneously 的 simul 就是 same。 好，所以 simultaneously 就是 happening 或者 happened at the same time， 所以他们两个同时 realized 他们 realized 是过去式，他们两个同时了解了 what had happened。
They had gone to different branches of the same restaurant chain.
这个句子我们看过了。
They both apologized and promised to be more specific about details to avoid such mix-ups in the future.
好，这个句子我们也看过了。
That's it for today. Tune in next time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.